we were living the life, very happy as a sole practitioner plus a wife working in a firm. We made $185,000 and we were extremely happy because we had a very nice life. Um, Fast forward to last year, we did 2 million and we're going to do 5 million this year. And we focus on tax. I'm a tax attorney. We do a little bit of estate planning and other things, but I don't like it and I don't do any of it anymore. Tax is my passion. So we made some money last year. And what does a tax attorney do when they make money? They figure out a way not to pay taxes. And that's what I did. We're going to talk about the research and development credit for law firms. And what is it? Okay. Well, a tax credit is a dollar for dollar reduction in taxes versus a deduction, which lowers the amount of income subject to taxes. Credits are the king in the tax world as far as tax planning is concerned. Every dollar of tax you save is a dollar you increase in profit. R&D credit is for performing R&D related to development, design, or improvement of products, processes, formula, or software. Okay? This can include law firms, but R&D is usually not marketed to law firms. And the reason is, like a lot of service industries, most law firms don't do a lot of technology increase. They don't focus on systems. Everything that HTM teaches you to do, most law firms don't do this. And we did analysis between law firms that are in HTM and law firms that aren't in HTM. And basically, the credit for HTM firms is about 5 times more than what we've seen than the credit for non-HTM firms. Okay. So developing, improving software or digital assets, enhancing client communication platforms. These are just some of the things that qualify. Not anything legal research. The baby loves my presentation. Creating systems for data analysis. A lot of the things we've seen today, there was research into that, right? You spent time and energy. So these are all things that generate research. And then what are the expenses related to that? Okay, because you get a credit on the expenses you pay on that. Tools, programs, case management survey. The big one usually always is wages and contractors, independent. So owners, your wages, what you spend developing these systems, you're doing research, employees engaged in these type of activities, contractors, if you want to build out, like one of the things we thought about doing since we've kind of worked on this credit is let's spend a couple $100,000 on doing an AI type thing that would help on marketing and production and everything go through. Well, you get a credit for that type of expenses. Your CEO and COO, whether it's fractional or especially the COO, they spend a lot of their time on processes, right? Okay, so what I'm saying is for HTM, there is a huge opportunity to reduce your taxes by tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, depending on your situation, with the R&D credits, because you guys are focused on this. The great thing about credits, another great thing about credits is they don't, unlike a deduction, which doesn't go over to the next year, a credit does. If you're making, you're not making a lot of profit, you could still get the credit and apply it to when you do have profit. The other thing you could do is a lot of tax strategies are what are called pay down strategies. And we talked about the zebra. The zebra, you have to pay in $100,000 to get the Zebra up and going. And then there are all sorts of tax breaks involved with that. The nice thing about R&D is you're probably already been doing this for years. You just have not taken advantage of it. Now, on the other hand, you can use it as a pay down strategy. Like I said, if you're thinking about doing a big investment in some technology, then you're going to want to make sure that you focus on that and make sure you get the proper tax credit. Last thing, yeah. So here's some facts and myths about it. Last thing I want to briefly talk about is what tax planning is. And the way I view tax planning is the way you view how you treat employees and how you demand performance from employees. It is the exact same thing. So it's hard for people to wrap their mind around it. You should treat the government as if I am only going to pay you what you deserve to be paid versus what you want to get paid. Because the government wants a lot from you. But there's also laws that say, oh no, if you do this, this, and this, you can not pay the government everything they want to get paid. So treat them as the employee that, the good for nothing employee. Treat them like the full of shit or the bullshitting marketing vendor. You should be looking at your taxes and saying, wow, is this really what I should be paying? And you're probably overpaying. If I haven't done I've never done a tax planning and analysis on any business where we haven't found some way to save money taxes for them. And I hope to find one day. But some of them are multi-million, some of them are smaller businesses. But tax planning is very important. And you had two great tax planning attorneys in the room. And just full disclosure, Jennifer's probably going to be doing tax planning for me and Kristen, because not every tax planner knows everything about the code. And we kind of specialize and have different knowledges. Anyway, so we've done R&D credits for quite a few businesses, and we're really focusing on law firms now. And it saved us a lot of money this year. That's it. Thank you.
Pietro,
Yes.
just walk us through some numbers.
So,
So for example, you're paying $24,000 a year for a COO.
okay. You probably could get, we have to do the analysis. We have to figure out exactly how they're spending their time. But you're probably going to get a $5,000 credit, which a $5,000 credit, like I said, this is not a deduction. You're already deducting the expense, but this is an actual credit. All I could tell you
All right,
is,
so let me
go ahead.
do the math for everyone. So you pay how to manage you pay how to manage 25,000, we'll call it,
Right.
for a COO.
Right.
We break down what the COO is doing for your firm and how much of it qualifies or could qualify for an R&D credit.
Correct.
You take the $25,000 deduction as a business expense. You don't pay taxes on $25,000 of revenue.
Right.
And on top of that,
Well, you can't double dip. You either have to take it as a deduction or a credit, but the credit is usually worth 3 times more because of the tax rate.
So you either get the $25,000 deduction,
Which is everybody's doing now.
which everybody's doing now, or you say, I won't take the $25,000 deduction. Instead, I'll just take a $5,000 credit
Right.
against my
Taxes.
tax bill.
That is correct, but I kind of misspoke. You only take the, you're allowed a deduction, but the part that is the credit that is allocated to R&D, meaning, let's say,
Right, let's just say it's 50-50.
right, 50-50. So
Right.
you still allow half
Let's
of the
let's say it's
deduction.
$24,000,
Right.
$2,000 a month is $24,000. So you're gonna take a $12,000 deduction
Correct.
and you don't take a deduction on the other
Other 12.
$12,000.
But you get a $5,000.
Instead, you get a $5,000 tax credit, which is
Correct.
essentially like a store credit. So you pay your tax bill less $5,000 and you just sort of say, and here's my tax credit to pay the difference.
Right,
You follow?
right.
So a $5,000 credit on a $12,000 expense, someone divide 5,000 by 12. That's 43%, right?
Right.
So if you're in a 33% blended tax situation, you'd be better off taking a 43% tax credit
Right.
than a 33% tax savings on the expense. Are you following this? So 10%, that would be a net savings of around $1,000. I can't
Right.
do the math in my
Right.
head, but you'd end up with $1,000 extra after tax disposable income
Right.
on just this little example.
This is one piece. Now, you also have your time. You also have the software. You also may have other people on your staff that are talking about, doing this type of researching how to do processes better.
So in other words, your firm pays you, let's say, $120,000 salary, right? And you know how we do the exercise, we figure out the normalized salary and X percentage of your time is on this and Y percentage of your time is on
Right.
that and Z percentage of your time is on the other because you're wearing different hats,
Right.
like, those pesky job descriptions we're always asking you to do,
Right.
right? Here's where you would use those job descriptions
And-
to implement a tax strategy. So you'd say 25% of my time is spent doing things that are research and development in nature. 25% of $120,000 salary plus benefits,
Right.
which is $140,000. So 25% of $140,000 is $35,000, right? So you'd get a $35,000, you get
On
a $35,000,
you're probably about $7,000-8,000 credit.
7,000, 7 or 8,000. So
yeah.
you get a $7,000 tax credit on that $35,000. 7,000 divided by 35,000 is how much? Anyone? Yes.
20%.
Yeah. So the analysis is kind of complicated. That's why you need a tax attorney. It's not linear that, hey, it's not like the old ERTC credit, which was pretty straightforward. This is, you really need to dig deep. And, we have found, you have to figure out what are the qualified expenses. And then there's a whole new, the code has a computation to figure out what the credit is.
And then the beauty of it is when you do this, once you figure it out this year,
Yeah.
I would say 80% of the work is done for next year.
Correct.
And when you do it again next year, 80% of the work is done for the next year.
Right.
And it's like going to the dentist to get your teeth cleaned, right?
And
if you haven't done it in a while, it's going to hurt the first time.
right.
But once you get it done, if you go back regularly with your tax strategist, it becomes pretty simple and you start finding new and better and bigger and new ways to do it that you would have never figured out if you didn't get it done the first time.
Right. And most of payroll companies, for your hourly people that may be doing some of this, they could code their hours for research and development. So once you get the system up and running correctly, you will know on your hourlies how much time you spent on qualified research expenses.
So if we retain you, do you help set up that
Yes,
system? Okay.
that's what we do.
Okay.
That's what we do.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, thanks.
Who's next?
Becky and then him.
Becky and then Chris, and
Yes.
then that's it. All right, while they're getting set up, let me ask you to take a look at these. As usual, I skimmed through your, you want, you don't want. Roddy? Hand those out. Alex, hand those out. Thanks. I went through the, give me one. Thanks. I went through the, want, don't want group, and as usual, there is a inconsistent list of people on the do want group. And there's a very good chance that whoever you put on your don't want group probably showed up on a lot of other don't want groups. I'll just say that. Iron Sharpens Iron 2026 renewal. Building a law firm that allows you to build the life you want isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Are you ready to keep pushing forward? Iron Sharpens Iron 2026 will remain focused on providing each participant opportunities to have layers of coaching on their business strategy, something important that they're working on, an important and even critical decision, a plan to get feedback about, as well as share and receive new ideas from other fast-growing and innovative law firms. All right. Now, what you should do is just take out a pen and just jot this down on there, because Catherine shared an idea that I thought was freaking brilliant. And right, I didn't say I was surprised. I'm just giving credit where credit is due. So yesterday I was saying that I was considering not continuing doing Iron Sharpens Iron because I wanted to explore other things. And then I shared that last night, Allie and I had like a long, late heart-to-heart for several hours, and I decided to continue doing Iron Sharpens Iron. And Catherine asked why during one of the breaks. And I said, the reason why I decided to keep doing it was because I realized I had to, it was an act of entrepreneurial maturity to continue doing Iron Sharpens Iron. It would have been an act of entrepreneurial immaturity to not continue doing Iron Sharpens Iron. I have a plan that I have been working on for the better part of 2 years. I'm not ready to share the details of the plan right now, so don't ask me because I'm not going to tell you. I will tell you that I've been working on it for the better part of 2 years. Tanya has spent about half of her time for the past 2 years. Nicole has spent about half of her time for the better part of 2 years. Candace has spent about 25 or 30% of her time for the better part of 2 years. Nicole, I have probably easily $1 million in expenses and payroll, which I'm definitely going to get an R&D credit for. Hell yeah. Working on this plan. My banker, Larry Brown, Jennifer, my CFO, my controller, everyone that I mentioned has a high degree of confidence that this plan will work very well. I'm going to tell you because I know everyone's like, oh my God, how's it going to affect me? It probably will not affect you at all. You probably won't even know the difference. To the extent that you do know the difference, it will give you options that you don't currently have at no additional expense. So to the extent that it affects you at all, it'll affect you because you'll have more options and you'll have access to more resources at no additional cost. So don't worry, don't freak out. But to execute on the plan should 5x my business in the next 36 months. So how to manage should go to about 150 to 170 million dollars in gross revenue in the next 36 months when this plan comes together. To do that, I have to clone some people. And the entrepreneurially mature thing to do is to keep running iron sharpens iron, because it's a really good place for me to bring people in to clone them, to have them sitting next to me, seeing what I do, seeing how I do it, offering feedback, seeing how they perform out in the wild, and all of that. The program that is the bright, shiny object that I was talking about yesterday would be fun for me, but it would not be the entrepreneurially mature thing to do to fuel this plan that will materially change my life and my income. That's the reason why we decided not to go off and do the other thing. And then Catherine said, because she cares about me, well, what were some of the things that you wanted to do with this other program? And I told her some of the other things, and she gave me some ideas that I could do. So, for example, one of the things that I think I'm going to do with Iron Sharpens Iron is next year, instead of leaving it to you to decide what you want to bring to your hot seat, we'll have themes. So we'll say, okay, everyone bring something to the hot seat that you're dealing with, struggling with, trying to figure out, looking to solve in terms of improving your labor cost ratio, for example. And we'll have an iron sharpens iron that the theme is all about fixing your labor cost ratio. And we'll tell you what the theme is ahead of time so you can plan for it and anticipate. That would really make it a lot more interesting for me personally. Another thing that I was looking forward to doing with the other program is using it, the other program that I'm not going to do, I was going to use that as a way to begin to develop relationships with people that I want to have working relationships with outside of how to manage a small law firm. And Catherine pointed out, well, there's no reason why you can't invite them to sit in the Iron Sharpens Iron with you and bring their unique perspectives. I'm talking about wealth advisors that I know that I want to have relationships with, tech entrepreneurs that I know that I want to have relationships with, authors that I want that I know that I want to develop better relationships with. And so my intention would be that I'd start bringing them into the Iron Sharpens Iron meetings because I can, right? So for example, who knows who David Steck is? You know David Steck, right? So David Steck is actually coming to the next Iron Sharpens Iron meeting, the one that starts next week, because he wants to check it out, and I want to check him out, checking you out. You know, I want to. Anyway, so it won't be exactly like this. It'll be very familiar what we'll do with the next group, but I'll try to be more intentional about what the theme is. And I plan to bring in more interesting guest experts, if you will. Any questions about that? If your firm has at least $2 million in revenue, provides a total owner benefit of at least $500,000, would you plan to increase to at least $1 million by Q4 2026? That's a new thing also. The group that was with me yesterday and the day before knows this. The group that's with me tomorrow and the next day, I'm going to be pushing you to get your total owner benefits up to at least $1 million. And if your total owner benefits is already $1 million, we're going to 2 by Q4 2024. 25, I mean. 6, thank you, 26. By Q4 of next year, I forgot what year it is. If your revenues or if your total, forget about gross revenue, right? This group, we should stop worrying about gross revenue. It's really all about total owner benefit. And so we're going to talk about really getting your total owner benefit up to $1 million, or if it's already at $1 million, it's time to start taking it up to $2 million. And whether you like it or not, that's what I'm going to be helping you focus on, because I want you to have more disposable income so we can do more fun stuff. Sound cool? Um, blah, 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 blah. The dates are there. There's group one, which has the dates March, June, and November. Group two. Well, what I've been referring to as group two is really group three. I don't know why she made it group. You know what I'm saying? Sound good? All right. If you've been thinking that you're in group two this whole time, it's referred to here as group three. Just you're in group two. Okay. So I would appreciate if you could give this back to me. If you're in group one, if you could give this back to me today, I would appreciate it. Obviously, you're not required to, but it would just be administratively a lot easier for me. And if you're in group two, give it back to me before we end the day after tomorrow. Sound good? And either way, I will still be seeing you at the next meeting. Ready? All right. Thank you.
All right. Hi, Becky Moriello, Raleigh Immigration Law Firm. We liberate people that the US government is trying to deport. And I'm glad they let me in the room. I am not at $2 million, but round up. Yet, absolutely.
Is the firm at a $2 million run rate?
No.
Is it going to get at a $2 million run rate soon?
Yes.
It better.
It better, yeah. So anybody who's had a conversation with me about my staff, probably the number one thing everyone remembers is that we're overstaffed. We've always been overstaffed. We've been in how to manage for 4.5 years and been overstaffed the entire time, grossly overstaffed. At the worst, we had 31 employees making $1.7 million. I mean, it's obscene. I have been out of production for 2.5 years. I got out of production when the firm was doing 750. And some of you know the story there. I've always been, most people have a difficulty with like letting go and delegating. My issue has always been the opposite, that I'm like, take it, over delegating, abdicating, all of that. So that's how we got super overstaffed, but I feel like I've tried everything. And the big issue, KPIs, HTM's always talking about KPIs, and they wouldn't have to talk about it all the time if we did it, right? Kind of like gas calls. So most of us, I will go out on a limb to say, we struggle with some part of KPIs. I certainly did. So what we tried instead was sort of flipping KPIs on their head, which I got from an idea in the HTM Facebook group about a ROWE model, ROWE, results only work environment. Has anyone heard of that? Anyone else seen that same post on the Facebook group about, it was about, Vanessa did, wow. It was like 1.5 years ago or so. Y'all need to get on Facebook more. I don't know. So I saw this thing and I was like, took us to this video from the 90s about people talking about how much they loved working in a results-only work environment. And it sounded great. It basically is what Oscar's always saying about pay for results, not activity. And you just get paid for your results. And I'm like, it's brilliant, because my advisors, everybody's confused by why we're so overstaffed, because it's not that I'm not afraid to fire people. Like, you show me you're a low performer and bye. Like, I feel like you've been stealing from me. So I'm fine with that. The problem is I'm like, I don't know, everyone's so busy. I don't know. Like literally, and I'm like trying, we'll be in the red. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And everyone's like, KPIs. And I'm like, I can't figure it out. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna try this ROWE thing. And we're still in the middle of this, okay? We've seen positive progress. We have seen some preliminarily great results. Now, to just, in a nutshell, how we're describing this, and let's pretend that we have X assignment, X task. It's a repeatable task. And everyone who does it says, okay, on average, this thing takes about 5 hours. All right, everyone's in agreement, 5 hours, yeah. And let's say you've got someone who makes $10 an hour. So they look at the math, all right, I usually get paid $50 for this task. And what I say is, okay, so instead of paying you hourly, we're going to pay you $75 to do X. I do not care if you figure out how to do it in 3 hours, if you decide to take 8 hours, doesn't matter, you're going to get $75 for X. And we're going to do that with everything that you do, 1.5 times how long it takes you. That's the thought. And as you can imagine, you know, the rollout, people respond to it differently. A lot of people do like the stability of just knowing that they're going to have a steady paycheck. Unsurprisingly, low performers did not love this. And we did have people quit as we started rolling it out, as we even were talking about it. But we did have one high performer quit, which was unfortunate. But we also had several low performers quit, which was great. I actually just learned about the high performer earlier today while preparing for this. I was like, oh, well, that's a shame. We know that staff likes stability, but eventually, especially, it depends on what your job market is that you're looking at. And supposedly the US job market is about to and in the process of tilting more employer friendly. So this might be something that we can do more of in the United States. Right now, we are really mostly doing this abroad. And like I said, preliminarily, it's doing great. Productivity increased in at least one department. In one department, it did not. But in one department, it actually tripled. In the first month we rolled it out, we got triple production. I was like, oh, okay. So like I said, we're in the process of rolling it out. It's taken a lot longer than we thought. It's kind of complicated. We're doing it with our CFO, but preliminarily great results. So definitely something to think about. Just as one example in the United States, when you're talking about attorneys, now we do flat fee. I'm not going to talk about how this could work in any other models, but for our associates, you know, yeah, we built out the whole thing with our COO and how it's going to work and all of that, and what they're you know, with the ACV and how many cases they're required to process every month and all of that. It just doesn't fucking work. Like, it works only on paper, it seems like. And just as the specific example with my last full-time associate, we did all the charts and all the things, and we're like, okay, the offer is you do 20 cases a month, 80 grand salary, and here's your whole bonus structure that we took forever working out. And the associate says, you know what, I'd love to come work with you, but I need to make at least 120. And I'm like, great, because with this bonus structure, you can make 120. And she's like, no, I need a guaranteed 120. And I'm like, well, then you're going to need to do 30 cases a month. And she's like, okay, I will. And I'm like, great. And guess how many times she did 30 cases a month? Right, 0. Guess how many times she did 20 cases a month? Sometimes. No, sometimes she hit 20, but never 30. And only sometimes did she even hit enough to have made the 80. And of course, we kept her for like over a year, didn't do the whole like check-in in the morning, check-in at noon, check-in at night, which now I know, you know, we need to do that too. I mean, I've known that for a bit as well and working on that. So anyway, so that was my last full-time associate. I was just like, we can't do this anymore. You're not getting your shit done. So now we just have contractors, which is really what this model is. It's turning everybody into contractors. And yeah, are we ending up paying a little too much, having just 1 million contract attorneys? Yeah, but we were paying too much with the salaried attorney anyway. So that's what we're working on. Glad to talk about it more, but it's preliminarily heading in the right direction.
Right. Chris.
Okay, I'm Chris here. My firm is Here Law. We're in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It's an intellectual property law firm. I joined, or actually I started my firm in March 2014, and I joined HTM in April 2016. The last couple of years, we've been bouncing around between 2.3 and 2.4 million in revenue, and my team is a team of 12 right now. So last year, I became curious. Oh, I can change this. Oh, I had it before. I was looking at the wrong thing. Okay. Swap. Okay, I became curious with all the Facebook group posts about people saying, well, has anyone found a good PPC vendor? And then there'd be a bunch of responses about how much their PPC vendors sucked. So I've been doing my own pay-per-click, which is rare. So I was curious to see, well, what are the vendors doing? And so I put up a post saying that I would do, a no-charge audit of members' pay-per-click accounts and see what the vendors are doing and offer some comments and recommendations. So I had about a half dozen firms take me up on that. And I thought I'd use the presentation today to share what I found. So I'm going to focus on five areas, but essentially the common theme is they did a fairly minimal amount of work and setup and then tried to rely on Google's machine learning to just figure it out. And then they weren't spending time in subsequent months to really do the things that you should do to do maintenance on an account to make it work better. So the first thing is about ad group and keyword organization. So the best practice here is to do either single keyword ad groups. So you might have divorce lawyer in its own ad group, and then another one that's family lawyer as a different ad group, and just one keyword in each group. Something similar to that is single intent ad group. You might have the term and then the plural, but it's the same intent for what the keyword is. So I wasn't seeing that organization with the vendors. And in fact, I was seeing very few keywords added to the account. So I think that was a time issue, and then also an issue that they didn't really know all the keywords that should be listed for their client. And really we want to be looking at the head terms relating to like lawyer and attorney for whatever your practice area is. Also is the location. So if it's Raleigh immigration lawyer. And then also the services themselves. So your SKUs, those should be keywords as well. And then a branded campaign. So that's a separate campaign, which is going to be the firm name. These are very low cost clicks and conversions. And you might find that you have competitors bidding on your name already. And so you want to be there too. You're probably only going to spend $1 or $1.50 on clicks on those. Keyword match types. So there's 3 keyword match types: an exact match, a phrase match, and then broad match. So exact match is meant to, if the term is personal injury attorney, it's designed to get that term. If you put personal injury attorney in quotes, that's phrase match. And if it's a word in front of it or after it, like what city are you in? Yeah. Okay. Tampa. So Tampa personal injury attorney would be captured by phrase match personal injury attorney. And then broad match is something that really just picks up a lot of terms that may be tangentially related. That's what I was seeing with the vendors. They were just throwing in a couple keywords with broad match, and trying to rely on Google's machine learning to figure it out over time. And so that's going to result in higher costs, lower click-through rate, and just not great results. So best practice, things that you know that you want to come up for, you want in exact match, you're going to get a higher click-through rate. That's going to give you a better quality score. That's going to give you a lower cost for conversion and more conversions. And maybe I should just clarify, I'm not suggesting that someone take over their pay-per-click account, but here are some tips for holding your vendor accountable. And I have a resource at the end that is another way of doing it. Okay, ad creation. So when you have this organization where you've got a single keyword or single intent ad group, you're now able to write an ad that is very customized for the keyword. So if someone's searching for Tampa personal injury attorney, you know that, and you write an ad that includes some of those terms and is talking about benefits directed at someone who typed that keyword. What I was seeing was the vendors, there's an ability to put in up to 15 headlines and 4 descriptions. So they were maximizing the number of headlines and descriptions, but in fact, what only gets displayed is 2 headlines and 2 descriptions. And they were, again, hoping over time that Google's machine learning would figure out what the best combinations would be. The problem is when you put in 15, the number of combinations that you can try out is so high that it would take, 15, 20 years to figure out the winner, right? And so really you want to use something called pinning, which is where you pick certain spots where you want certain headlines to appear. So you might have something with a keyword in the top position to come first. The second position, something that talks to a benefit of hiring you, and then you've got your descriptions below. You've reduced the number of combinations. You're not relying on so much randomness. You have more control about what's going to appear in the ad. Negative keywords. So this is something that they should be doing in their monthly maintenance. What negative keywords are is you go into your search terms report where you see what were the search terms that our ads came up for, and then you're going to see a bunch of stuff. Well, why did we come up for that term? Like it'll be some other attorney in your town, and Google is equated, well, they're also a personal injury attorney in Tampa. But you have to think, well, do I really want to bid on that person's name, or is someone really searching because that's their lawyer and that's who they're trying to reach now? So that might be something you would mark as a negative keyword. There are other very common things like cheap attorney, free attorney, that people tend to take out. Right. Yeah, pro bono attorney, things like that you probably don't want to be spending money on for clicks. And I was seeing almost no activity from the vendors in terms of adding negative keywords. The best practice is to go in periodically, look at the terms you're coming up with, mark a bunch of stuff that you don't want to come up with or come up for as negative keywords. Assets. Okay, this is so you've probably seen in pay-per-click ads that sometimes they have an image and sometimes they don't. That's an example. If you include an image, according to Google's data, it improves your click-through rate by 6%. So everyone should have images. An easy way to do it is to take your profile picture and maybe some other profile pictures of some of the attorneys and put them in the images section. There are other extensions. A call extension is when you see the phone number and the ability to call right from the pay-per-click ad. That's another one that you should put in. It was pretty inconsistent what I saw and whether vendors had fully used these things. I think in the case of images, they hadn't asked their client to provide them with images they could use and just sort of ignored it. There's something else in terms of advertiser created assets versus Google's automatically created assets. Google will come up with things and they'll put it in your account, and you generally want to delete those, except for the business name, because that's an automatically created one. Conclusions. Yeah, so it's what I said at the start. So out of the 6 accounts I audited, the best one was done by a vendor called Empirical 360, but it was getting about half the number of conversions I was getting doing it on my own. So it was the best of a sort of a mediocre average group, I thought.
The best of the worst.
Right. They can certainly do better. And in fact, that member took my recommendations, spoke to them, and they didn't want to implement any of the changes. So I'm just putting this up in case anyone's interested. The book that I use to teach myself this stuff is Advanced Google AdWords by Brad Geddes. He's, I think, one of the worldwide experts on pay-per-click accounts. He has a software tool called Adanalysis, which I use. I use another program called 10 Scores, which is good for doing the restructuring of keywords into those smaller groups that I mentioned. And Brad does audits, and I found myself recommending this to Shelley Kester a few months ago, and then it occurred to me, well, why don't I do this too? So I just did this a month ago, and I was very happy with the value provided in that report for the $1,500. I think it was like a 37-page report that addressed so many different areas and had a lot of actionable stuff that I could change. Well, we're not doing questions, but I'm happy to answer questions, I guess, after the session ends.
Yeah. I think it's great that you volunteered. I'm curious what motivated you to volunteer and what did you get out of it besides just, good feelings?
Yeah, I was curious to see what the vendors were doing in their strategies. I can't say that I emulated anything that I saw from them end of the day, but I
You're
was
hoping to learn something.
I was hoping to learn something, right? And I guess I learned, what would be less effective.
What
What not to try.
not to do. Well, I mean, I think that's just a brilliant idea. It's motivated self-interest generosity, right? What are you doing in your business that you're really good at that you could offer to audit, review, take a look at what others are doing, right? So, Mickey, you're doing personal injury, right? We probably have 20 or 50 members who dream someday of maybe having a firm as successful as yours. And if you said, hey, I'd be happy to review your demand letter, right? Maybe you learn something in the process, number one. Well, number one, you're paying it forward. Number two, maybe you learn something in the process. And number three, maybe they end up with a case that they don't know what to do with, so they refer to you someday, right? I mean, I'm not going to go person by person by person, but this is just a great example of being generous, being a giver, coming from an abundant mindset, and demonstrating. Unfortunately, Chris didn't learn something enormously valuable that he could apply, but at least he has confidence to know he has a great advantage and doesn't have to second guess himself and wonder, I wonder if I'm missing out on not hiring one of these vendors who's constantly bombarding me with marketing, telling me how great they are. What would be really interesting would be to see how the marketing vendor, can you go back a slide?
Yep.
Back. Go back to the beginning.
Okay.
The first one. I'd like to see another slide. What vendors do with their clients, what they should do for their clients, what they do for themselves, right? I suspect what they should do for their clients and what they do for themselves is a lot closer than what they actually do for their clients. This, by the way, is part of the thing that drives me the most fucking crazy about most of the marketing vendors that I see out there, and I don't mean just the PPC people, it's like they do for themselves, they do brilliant marketing for themselves. They just won't do brilliant marketing for their clients. Like they do the exact opposite. Anyway, they do to their members, what they do to their clients, what they should do for their clients, what they do for themselves. Slide by slide by slide by slide. That'd be really fun. Thank you for that. That was fantastic. I'm going to read that book. I'm going to, is there an audio book of it?
Out of the 3 speed.
I'm going to take a look at that book. Did you read the whole thing? Okay. All right. What did you think of this format? You like it? It was fun. Do something like this more often? Okay, well, we will. Oh yeah, let's do the last survey. I appreciate you all being here. For those of you who were with us in group 1 the last 2 days, how about if we just take a few minutes, because we never actually did this. We forgot to do this in group 1. We never went around and shared some of our biggest takeaways, right? Like, you know, normally we say, John, from your turn, I took this, you know, Jackie and Dan, from your turn, I took that, and so on and so forth. So can we do that? Yeah? You want to take a quick look at your notes and just do that? Where's the throw mic? Alex? Who wants to start us off?
1 second.
And that way everyone else can learn. Give that to me. Who's going to go second? Who's going to go third? Okay, great.
From our group as well as today?
Yeah, let's do from our group as well as today. Sure. You want to, let's come on up. Okay, now stand up. All right.
So from our group, I honestly got the most value from my hot seat. I've struggled over the years with.
I nominate myself.
I nominate myself, well, not for the competition. I'm talking about my hot seat
Okay.
yesterday. I've struggled with how to run effective stand-up meetings, and they've just been kind of a colossal waste of time. And now I know how to not only run an effective stand-up meeting and a good purpose for one, as well as how I can hold my team accountable so that I can take my profit before the thieves steal it. So from today, Tessie's share was very helpful for me because, as you know, from my last ISI meeting, we've been struggling with client complaints. And so that I think will be a really good way for us to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
I've been making gas calls, but spread a little thin, spread thinner than 1-ply toilet paper right now. So that will at least help me aim in the direction of the people who need the attention the most, the fastest. So
Good. John?
Yeah, so just a couple from yesterday. I really got a lot out of Katie's with the conversation about different duties that the internal marketing department will be covering, the different roles in the department potentially, and then, you know, some of the areas that you do not want to delegate, at least no time soon, strategy being right at the top of the list.
Don't let go of strategy.
Yeah. I also got a lot from Joel's hot seat. I guess just bringing back some bad memories, but reinforcing all the things we did wrong in the past and reminding me why I will not repeat those mistakes again. Today, I really liked what Pietra had to say about the R&D credit. That sounds amazing. Looking forward to exploring that. And I really liked, both Erica and Mickey touched on Google reviews, which, we're constantly working on internally to gather more of those, and I found that very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you.
So over our regular group meeting, totally changed the way I thought about so many different things. I too got the most out of my hot seat because there was something I was thinking about for 6 months, and just I came away with so many of those ideas, or like your guys' ideas, that when I was thinking about it last night, I sort of get really excited about it, like really excited. And some of the stuff was like, when you'd ask, well, why do you do it this way? My answer was, well, that's the way I've always done it. And that happened over and over again. So I think I can make so many different changes, not only with that little area that I'm going to partake in, but for the rest of my firm, like going to make some big changes on that. And today, for me, it was Catherine, because when I just really, that same kind of thing, I could take what she did and implement that into my plan. And it'll make things more simple.
What she did was showing the roadmap.
Showing the roadmap, like, so not only like, so my clients can see the roadmap, so my dragons can see the roadmap, so my staff can see the roadmap. So every time, everyone will always know, and like talking about chutes and ladders, always knowing where you are and how close you are to it. It's super exciting for me. So that's what I got.
Very cool.
I got a lot out of Katie's session on the marketing. So we brought on a new marketing director in late January. And then in early March, we fired 3 members of our leadership team because we had to extract some cancer from the firm. And so while I had this great plan for how to properly onboard the marketing director, sort of went out the window when I got pushed back into production for the first time in years. And we had just had a call with our CEO on, I think Thursday, about how the marketing director is kind of off track, and we need to take a look at that. And so the conversation with Katie was really helpful for thinking about how to get back on track with that.
Seems there was a lot of discussion during our Iron Sharpens Iron about accountability and KPIs, or it's just that's what resonated really strongly for me. And it doesn't have to be difficult to keep people accountable like anything else. It gets easier if you make it a routine and you practice it day in, day out, and have sort of the mentality that you're always keeping it positive and you're helping them help you.
There was something that I got just from a comment that Dan was making. I'm gonna start implementing with my weekly meeting with COO is, what is our current bottleneck? I love that. I liked El Aretha's talk about having a retreat and ask people, what a good performance would look like and how would the ownership know it? And then, of course, they're participating in all that. Let's see here. And then another big thing was that I need to incorporate my story about what I do, why I do what I do into my marketing.
I'll go next. So for me, El Arisa's hot seat on the accountability is something I need to do as well. So that one really resonated with me, and I guess my own, because I came in with a block thinking that every time I gave like an associate lawyer constructive criticism, that they couldn't take it, right, and that this would lead to them resigning. And I think we talked through it, and really it's, I can improve the way that I'm giving feedback, but there are some people that, they
Just can't take it no matter
they
what.
can't take it. Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do to turn back the hands of time and help them become thicker skinned, tougher people.
From our time together, I'm gonna put some together. I thought that Holly's and Bill's and were like the sort of do what you love, right? And find the passion in what you love, and don't worry about necessarily how that's gonna monetize first. You could figure that out later.
I want to put some context around that.
Yeah, okay.
because that's great advice for someone who's already built a multi-million-dollar business that puts their personal total owner benefits in the top 1% of all income owners on the planet. That's not necessarily great advice for people who are financially broke down and out and struggling. Sometimes you've got to
Totally.
shovel the shit and do what you got to do to make enough money.
I was just saying that was for me.
I'm just saying this for context
Yeah.
because people hear this and like, yeah, just do what you love and the money will follow. Yeah, you know, maybe the
Sometimes.
money, well, maybe the money follows, but maybe you starve to death first, you know?
Yeah.
Good to build a business that gives you sustainable, predictable quality of life while you go searching for what you're passionate about.
Totally, and you have to be passionate about something to do that. That was one thing that
Yeah.
I really got. And I also thought that Mickey's was great on re-engineering the way that you think about the processes in your firm that would make everything more profitable, but also make something that you think is a dog, something that isn't so doggy. And I love dogs, so. And, you know, today there was really so much great stuff. It's really hard to say and it feels a little overwhelming, but I loved Katie, I loved what you did with the spreadsheets and being able to show the employees what they're getting. And somebody else said something about, I think it was your husband, said something about when he was working at Johnson & Johnson. And, you know, I think one way to frame that is to say, instead of saying, well, what I make is this, they go home and they say they're glad that there are people from their friends and their family, whatever, I make 150. They could say my total employee benefit is 250 or 225 or, you know, whatever.
Total comp package is
My
worth.
total comp package is, and I think that to give them that language, because a lot of this is ego, I think that, and if they have that number and they can actually look at the bottom of the spreadsheet and say, that's what it is, that's really brilliant.
Thanks. So many wonderful
With my-
takeaways from,
Go.
yeah, I've got one. So many wonderful takeaways. I really appreciated Holly's where she was getting advice and then it almost everyone's giving feedback and it went to a place of you need to tell us advisor, this subject's off limits. And then you jumped in and said, don't ever say that because that begins the death of the relationship with anyone that you're looking to for advice. And you don't need to say something's off limits. You can take what they have to say, but don't because you want them to constantly be challenging you. And I really appreciate that. I like Dan's feedback about when you're doing marketing, any type of action you take, put it in a spreadsheet, write down the pros, the things you got from it so you can focus on those things. I very much appreciated my hot seat. Timing wise, it was great for me because we were able to tweak the job description before I hire this position. We talked about things that I need to be doing in the interview process for this job position, and then feedback from people in the room regarding their onboarding and things that they had learned to do and not to do for that job position. So timing and subject wise, it was just great for me. Today is awesome. I appreciate everyone's feedback in this room. It was enlightening. I learned so much, and I'm going to go visit some zebras in Texas. So.
So El Aretha's was probably the most helpful for me yesterday, because we have, you know, to get our total owner benefit up, we just need to make sure the lawyers and the legal team is, are meeting their hours. And so, kind of walking through that about holding people accountable, was a good reminder, some good things there. And then Chris's hot seat where we, kind of talked about how to talk to these people, really went in well with that. And then also Katie's today with her share about her spreadsheet. We've been doing that, but you've got even more topics in there now that we need to go back and fix. And then I also got a lot from Mickey's yesterday about how when you have another set of clients that maybe don't fit into your normal thing, that you are making sure that you're still helping them, making sure that your team is treating them the same way that they would treat the kind of normal clients, and kind of building that out to make sure that we are doing everything to help everyone that we want to work with.
I would say from Holly's yesterday, the best reminder from that hot seat, not that I haven't heard it before, but it's, you know, good to be reminded. And just like an employee, I too forget things, that it's her band and she has to keep her vision, and it's good to get advice on certain things. And like Katie said, don't ever give me that advice again, or this topic's off limits, or this, that, or the other, but synthesize the advice and ultimately trust your gut for Holly anyway. From our hot seat, context to wrap it around for those of you that weren't there, we basically were out of the country for the last 30 days and nothing broke, which was fantastic. But I can't let myself enjoy that because I want to go back and do a walkabout and talk to everyone and say, what do I need to fix? What do I need to fix? What do I need to fix? And quickly, my peers that have been with me for 5 years in this group were like, and that's your fuselage, and you're now hiding out, and you need to get on the bridge and see what's going on out there in the water way far away, and be the visionary of your law firm rather than the doer and the fixer. And so just a reframe from our John of change your approach from what to fix to get to $1 million total owner benefit to how am I going to get to $1 million total owner benefit? Because I am. And then the rest will become clear. And then I would say there's a lot of trusting our gut and our instincts and the gift of fear yesterday too. I thought, in addition to what you said, Catherine, as far as common themes, I think for Mickey's, one of the bottlenecks in our law firm, and we do divorce law, just as a reminder, is no two divorces are the same. We handle every divorce differently. We've been very reluctant and very hesitant in a non-form state to put any sort of structure into the process and such, because every time these two back here go, oh, well, this could happen, this could happen, that could happen, that could happen. And with Mickey's hot seat, we went through a very detailed build it for 60% of what's going to happen. And the one-offs and this, that, and the other will be covered by the 40. But if you can get it running efficiently and well for 60%, you're still saving yourself a lot of time, your team a lot of energy switches, and just building a lot of efficiencies and making things more profitable in the firm. So really sitting down and going back and challenging ourselves as well about where have we just been doing it because it's the way we've always done it, and it just doesn't make sense when you look at it from the outside. Obviously Elaretha, but Mitzi already said that. Chris, a reminder to me about showing people that you care, you value them, and getting their buy-in and collaboration before perhaps you give them the one thing that they're going to hear because they don't think that you respect them and they don't trust you. And I'm not saying you're doing that, but that's my interpretation for what I'm experiencing. Today's shares for Holly, we have core values. They spell SMART for smart divorce. Not because it's cute. We really spent a lot of time on that too, but we've not done the exercise Holly's done with the team about you guys give us examples in each facet of your department. And so just going and doing that, I thought would be awesome. And then Catherine's visuals, particularly the choosing the right support, because so many of our clients call and we say all the time, like, we're the most overpaid, underqualified therapist you'll ever have. You know, please call your therapist, please call your therapist, please call your therapist. And I think if we got that to folks earlier in the funnel, that might reduce them getting bad advice sometimes from us about relationships, as well as take some things from the legal team where they could be spending time actually moving their case along. So that was pretty much it for me. And I think I'm the last person from our group from yesterday that's still here.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Luke, for running AV for us. Thank you, Alex, for support. And without Roddy, we'd be locked out and hungry. Thank you, Roddy. Sorry? Roddy runs a great event. It's true. He does. Not that the next group will know. Or will they? They will. The group after that won't know. Okay. Roddy and Chris are doing a handoff after the next group. Because after the next group, we still have on Monday, Tuesday, the over $7 million group. I didn't say that. I said over $7 million in revenue. And then we have the AI Summit. Is anyone here coming to the AI Summit? Anyone know about the AI Summit? One person knows about, two of you know about the AI Summit, three of you know about the AI Summit. Well, we'll be recording the AI Summit. And we'll share. I think we're gonna be able to record all of it. We're not recording it. I take it all back. We're not recording any of it. Ally may share what some redacted, some highly redacted intel. I don't know. I'm not running the AI Summit. I'm just, that's Ally's show. Cool. Well, the weather finally got good. All right, well. Go for a golf cart ride. Check around. Enjoy. Thank you all for being here. If you fill out the form, do me a favor and just bring it up for me. So I got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Wait, that was not a good handshake. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's well, you got $100,000. And
Like if I could get it right for 100.
If you haven't done so, please scan this QR and upload your presentation, if you had one, please.
How long would this Dropbox be viable? And I asked because my marketing person has not seen any shit till either late tonight or tomorrow morning.
You have time. It'll be indefinitely up, so. So I remember to.
Send it back out and say, here's what I'm putting.
No, I think it's probably gonna be. Probably later this week. We'll do a reconciliation.
I'm fine. They probably call it.
Thank you guys. It was such a pleasure. Good luck with everything. See you next time. Yeah, if I could do anything for you guys, like, let me know. And I'm gonna put my book at. Yeah. Some worship stuff.
You have any more of these or empty? Do you have any empty of these? I do. Can you get any of these?
Are you collecting those? Kristen wanted me to scan them and then bring over the event.
They're all like.
Iron sharpens iron renewal forms. Please turn them in up here at the front.
You got Chris.
All right, Chris, we're gonna come back in a couple of minutes. We're gonna have more money.
Yes.